All of a sudden, he come up to some of the competitions, saw the guy, big old hair, you know, bouncing everywhere, just ripping down the bumps. And I was like, asked Billy Jacob, who's that guy? He's like, oh, that's Kreitler. You know, after that, he just started popping up everywhere. Before you knew it, he was doing his own movies, and yeah, I've known him ever since. So.
The way it went down is in 1992. We'd been skiing together for a couple years, going to Vail, and I'd been kind of dabbling at the Pro Mogul Tour a little bit. And Kent went off and did some event. I didn't even know what it was. I think back then they were still calling them extreme skiing competitions.
I was like, I'm going to go enter this extreme skiing competition in Crested Butte, and like that totally changed my life. I remember my last run at the US Extremes in '93, this bald eagle flew over, and like to me, like that was, you know, that was a pretty spiritual moment.
It was the national championships, and he had won, and this is the guy that I'd been skiing with for years, you know. That definitely jump-started his career and definitely inspired me to get involved in the same stuff.
I dropped out of school at that point. I was a senior and just had had enough and wanted to really focus on my skiing. I knew that it wasn't an easy road. There definitely were really limited sponsorship opportunities, and like I knew that we were going to have to create the opportunities and really be aggressive about, you know, creating the side of the sport. And I think all the guys who were my peers kind of knew that. Greg Stump had a huge influence on skiing. There was also rap films, and they were coming out with these films with Trevor Peterson and Eric Pajota. So you had these two film companies doing these extreme skiing movies where these guys were going out and exploring and going into new areas. And, you know, my generation's kind of the next generation after those guys. And we were watching them going, wow, we can do that too. And so that was the drive.
I remember like the first years in contest, like when Kent first came along, you know, he had the long hair, and what he did, I think to change skiing a lot, is like start doing like the non-stoppers, rolling into cliffs, and you know, you're not stopping, you're scoping it from a different angle, and you go and charge it. And I think that's a lot of what Kent brought into the skiing, you know.
What I wanted to do was take what I grew up doing, racing, and taking those speeds and combining it with what I saw Peterson and Pajota doing in big mountain descents. That was where I really wanted to like take a jump forward and lay some groundwork. At that point, you know, I was 23. I didn't really care about having money or whatever, and it was like you just hit the road and gypsy and couch surf and ski. I was like, that was all we cared about.
And then we ended up moving out here to California in '94.
Moving to Squaw was kind of a shock because there was this really aggressive, loud, fun scene going on there, and that was new to me. I was kind of a quiet kid from Idaho.
He showed up, white dreadlocks, muscle shirt, leather pants, black boots, more attitude than he knew what to do with. He'd just gotten in Tahoe, and there was already a bit of a buzz about him, about his skiing. But he'll tell you today, he goes, no, dude, I was just shy. I was just shy. So, no, you weren't shy. You were copping attitude. You had every intention of coming to Squaw, turning that mountain a new one, and taking no prisoners. And he did it. He totally did it.
The guy charged unlike really anyone I had ever seen. Yeah, it was kind of wild how he just dropped in the lines and he committed to them. He didn't pause a whole lot. He just powered off these airs and stuck the landings, and I was like, wow, this guy can really ski. It was kind of a style of skiing I hadn't seen a whole lot.
He gives up the PSIA ski school bullshit, and when you watch him ski, it's just fun. You can tell it's fun. He's leaning back on his tails. He's throwing his angle where it shouldn't go, but it's like it's working.
You know, Kent will charge lines that most other people won't. I think that's what has made Kent such a marquee player for so long in the sport of skiing is, one, his power in his skiing, and two, his actual aggressiveness. You know, he's just a fearless charger.
The thing about Kent is he can be in a hairy situation, you know, where he's about to fall, then stand up, and I've personally seen him just throw huge front flips out of something where, you know, a lot of us would just be like, whoa, I should probably put on the brakes right now. Kent lets it run and throw something spectacular.
I always knew, you know, from watching the movies, I was like, wow, I could be sponsored and I can be, you know, paid to do this stuff because I can do it as well or better or add something else to it.
His style of skiing is just so aggressive, strong, confident. It allows him to do things that nobody else can do on skis. There was a big change that happened in skiing in around the mid-90s. Before Kent, Brad Holmes, Seth, all these guys' generation, there was Scott Schmidt and Glenn Plake, and there weren't really any other pro skiers. And the industry weren't really supporting the type of skiing that we were doing. And so there was a lot of us that had to go to the industry and explain to them why this was cool, why they should support it, why they should, you know, throw money at people like us. And we didn't have agents because we weren't worth an agent's time, so we had to learn it all ourselves. All the kids nowadays, they don't have to do any of that stuff. The system's already set up.
Without guys like Kent, I don't think that there would be as many pro skiers as there are today.
When we were trying to get started in the business, we had to not only learn it for ourselves, we had to teach the industry. And Kent has always been very, very good at that.
Kent was one of the first guys that went out and tried to get sponsors to be a skier. And he was the first guy that was sending letters out to companies like K2 and Spider, and you know, he was out there hustling and trying to make it as a pro skier, get sponsorships for skiing in movies. I think a lot of younger kids who bitch and whine about their contracts should be thankful to guys like Kreitler that they even have a team manager at a company.
When he was first trying to break in, I was at K2, and he left a message for somebody else. He wouldn't have left this message on my machine, but somebody else, and said, hey, it's time for, you know, Hattrip and Flake and Schmidt to move over and let the young guys have a turn. And that was before he really got much exposure.
My experience is that I watched these ski films from Greg Stump, and not only did I admire who I was watching, but I also felt like there were things that could be done better or that could be accentuated on.